Welcome to this new episode of The Disabled Life. The purpose of this podcast is to tell people how I live my life. The name I'm using on the podcast now is The Disabled Guy, because I felt that you needed to hear something as opposed to just my voice there. I'm a disabled male living in Florida with cerebral palsy. I'm here to tell you how I live my life and some of the volunteer work that I do and how I managed to do it with cerebral palsy. Without further ado, let's go into the episode. Well, I'm going to talk to you about an STS trip that I went on October the 12th. That's a Thursday. Today is Friday the 13th, an unlucky day. I am not having any luck getting this podcast done today. So what happened? So I made the reservation. And they said, okay. And they gave me a time of pickup 6:45. So that meant that my mom and I had to get up at 5 in the morning. So I called them and they come. And here's what they do. They drive me away. I believe that they're going to just go. Yeah, so my mom asked him, so she asked him if we had to pick somebody else up. So he said yes. That's normal for STS to pick up other people. But here's the part that I didn't like. And I knew there was something wrong. Because he drove me around. He drove to pick up a person. So he drives back again to near where I live to get the expressway. I'm like, why did they do this? So I'm like, okay, that's good. At least I'm gone. So we drive, and so we get on the expressway, whatever. And so the gentleman is talking on the phone, and putting earpieces in, like Bluetooth, taking them off, doing all these. Talking on the phone. So I'm like, that's not good. So I knew. So because of what happened, I knew that the trip was wrong. The routing was wrong. So I'm like, so I told my mom. I believe I told her as we were waiting. So we get to the doctor. They get me quickly, which I'm glad they did. So they get me quickly, and I start, and I do. They treat me, and I see the doctor at the same time. So then after that happens, then we go down. I have myself a little breakfast. So I have to wait. So I call them. I call them to see if I can get earlier. There was no available vehicle. I called too late. So we wait. So, okay. So the guy comes back a little bit before 12, which I'm glad he did because I really had to go to the restroom. So I'm like, but here he goes. He does it again. Talks on the phone, radio being loud, etc. The reason I'm against that is because they have a computer, and they have enough distractions as it is. And it's difficult because they have earpieces in. And let me say this to you: it cost $3.50 for a one-way trip. That was a round trip of $7. I believe that's absurdly expensive. For the quality of service that they're giving you, I believe, this is my personal opinion, that they should give you a free service, because I feel that it's just, it's not justified for the amount of money that they're charging and the bad service and the complaints and constantly have to do this. So I tell my mom, when we're waiting outside for this driver to come back, or a driver to come back. So we're waiting, As I tell her, I believe this is a wrong trip. The routing is wrong, I believe I said. So what I was so, and because of this early morning, I was so tired when I got home. So, but I had lunch, and then I had lunch, and I told her I asked her to help me take my shoes off, so then I could take a nap. But here's the funny part. I was so tired that I laid down in bed. I grabbed a cordless that I have in my room here, and I called the county. So I found it. I'm not gonna give her name now because she didn't give me permission to do this. It's a person that works there that I got to know because of the constant complaints. It's ironic that you get to know a customer service representative because of the constant complaints. So what I did is I gave her my ID number, and she said hello, and use my name. I'm not going to use my own name here. So so I told her I believe the trip was wrong. Explain why, and she says she looked at it, and they gave her, and she found out that it's extended routing or something to that effect. I don't know if that's what they call. I should have asked her. So then I told her about what the driver behavior was doing. He was using the phone, playing the radio, just being unsafe, not being compliant with the rules, because all the rules that they have is about safety. And also, can you concentrate on the road when you're talking on the phone? Constantly putting on your earbuds, taking them off. I don't think so. It's no. My safety as a passenger is first. They're between you and me here. My opinion is that their personal call can wait till they stop, which they don't do. The personal call can wait. I don't know why they don't do that between trips. Because between trips, and the thing I was most upset about is that it wasn't one phone call. It was constant phone call, one after the other. Well, I don't know why they do. They do this because they don't think that we'll say anything. I'll give you an example of one. One time I was going to coming from Doral, where I do volunteer work, where I do exams. So, now, let me explain about this one so you have context of what these people are doing. Some of them are absolutely atrocious. So, excuse me. So, I came out, and he was standing outside. 5 minutes early. I don't know how long early, but they have to wait. If they get there early, they have to wait till the pickup time. So I had my telephone off, and he got upset with me because he told me he was calling. So I said no. So he was upset that I was calling you, for you to come out early. I didn't say anything because I'm not confrontational with these people. So here's what he does. Here's what this guy does. On another day, he got off his vehicle. He strapped my wheelchair down, gets off his vehicle, and goes to make a phone call. But I said no, because that's inappropriate. Because once he has loaded me in the vehicle, he's on my time. I'm not on his time. I'm paying for the service. So it's something that. So he does this. Okay, then I say instead of yelling at me and calling me to come out, he should have called his wife or whoever the heck he wanted to call before I came out and before my window time. So the next thing I'm saying, more stories on this is so this particular one, was texting and driving on the phone, whatever. And it's interesting. It was, and then so I report him the first time, and what they do. This I know because I've asked them before. This one I know. They give them a verbal warning, and it goes on from there. I'm not gonna say the rest. It goes on. So the next thing happens, I see him. He comes back again a few months later. This is after I filed the formal complaint. So then he proceeds again to do the same thing over again. I think it was back to back. So he does the same thing again, completely ignores the fact that he doesn't ignore the fact. He knows I complained about him. So complained about him. But being he thought that I was gonna just think that they weren't gonna do anything. So okay, he did the same thing again. Texting, calling, all these annoying things that you do that are also unsafe. The calling is not unsafe, the calling is annoying. So the next thing I do is I file a second complaint. So that escalates it. That escalates it and doesn't so that escalates it. So they talk to him again. I don't know what the procedure is. I'm gonna ask the person. I'm gonna talk to her. So then so I file a second complaint. And 2 months later the guy shows up again one more time. Guy shows up one more time. And you know that lo and behold, he did not text anybody or call anybody. What he did do, he said, excuse me, can you wait a minute? Because I want to text somebody before I move. That's fine. I have no problem with you doing that. Because it's my safety. He didn't do texting. So the next thing I'm going to talk about. The next thing is interesting because they think that just because they can't, they think you're not going to report them ignoring that. You know, they ignore you. They do the same thing again. Oh no, nothing's happening. And you know, the first thing they do, man, I don't know why they do this. They really, you know, these people are really playing with our safety. We put our lives in their hands. And they don't care about our safety sometimes. And that to me is obnoxious. That, you know, we put our lives in their hands to get us where we need to go, and it is not something that we need. We need this service. The service is important because how do we get to some doctor's appointments when our family or caregivers don't want to drive there? This is a way of doing that. You know, are going to where I want to go, get to where I need to be. So that's something that I am going to discuss. It's something that this service needs to change. So what I did ask when I filed such complaints on Thursday after I got home, I asked the girl, because I know her personally. I've spoken to her so many times that I feel like I know you know her. So she was friendly, and I asked her, can you do me a favor and give me the total number of complaints that I filed, because these are public record? So she said they would try. So hopefully next month, hopefully sometime after when I get this complaint that has been filed, I will be more than happy to tell you what the total number of complaints is from the beginning of the service. What's ironic is the first time that I wrote with them, they scared the heck out of me because my chair was moving around. I reported them, so I get a letter. My seatbelt was loose, everything. I get a letter from the county. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to retrain the driver because this was I know that, but I was literally freaking out. scared because my chair was moving everywhere. It wasn't tight. So, I felt this. But this, let me tell you, sometimes, I don't get intimidated with these people. I do not. With that, thank you for listening. In closing, let me say thank you for listening to this episode of The Disabled Life. You can follow me on the following platforms. You can follow me at Good Pods. You can leave comments, messages there. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Disabled Guy. And you can also listen to me on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and many others. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll also give you my email. My email is Kilo Echo 4 Kilo Echo Yankee, or KE4KEY@gmail.com. Once again, thank you, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week. Now let me say something additional. Now, as I say, it's also, you can also leave comments, messages on Spotify, because this is, to me, is very important, and again, thank you for your support.